The man pretended to be her father. But the girl denied it and asked for help. What happened next shocked the officer. It was supposed to be a quiet night. A routine patrol. Officer Daniel Mercer had been working this small town's roads for over a decade, and he knew them like the back of his hand. But sometimes, just when you think you have seen it all, the universe throws a curveball that shakes your soul to the core. The air was thick with the scent of freshly cut grass and pavement cooling under the dim glow of streetlights. The hum of the radio filled the silence in his cruiser, dispatch updating officers on minor incidents across town. Nothing out of the ordinary. And then, it happened. A dark SUV blew past a stop sign just ahead. Not speeding, not reckless, just ignoring it. A mistake, perhaps, or something more. Mercer sighed, flipping on his lights. A simple traffic stop. He expected nothing more than an apologetic driver and a routine warning. But as he pulled up behind the vehicle and stepped out, something in his gut told him this was not going to be routine at all. The SUV rolled to a slow stop on the side of the road. Mercer approached with his usual measured steps, his flashlight cutting through the tinted windows. The driver's side window slid down, revealing a man in his 40s with neatly combed hair and an oddly practiced smile. "Good evening, officer." "Something wrong?" The man's voice was smooth, almost rehearsed. Mercer's eyes flicked toward the back seat. That is when he saw her. A little girl, no older than 6 or 7, clutching a small stuffed rabbit. Her face was pale, her eyes wide not with curiosity, but with fear. She barely blinked, her tiny fingers gripping the toy so tightly her knuckles had turned white. Something was not right. "You ran a stop sign back there," Mercer said, keeping his voice steady. "License and registration, please." The man did not hesitate, retrieving the documents from the glove compartment and handing them over with an easy smile. "Sorry about that. Long day. Just heading home with my daughter." "Right, sweetie." The girl nodded slowly, almost mechanically. Mercer caught the slightest tremor in her movement. "What is your name, sweetheart?" he asked, crouching slightly to meet her gaze. "Lily," she whispered. The word barely escaped her lips. But Mercer saw it, the flicker of something deeper. A silent plea. "Help me." Mercer's fingers tightened around the license. He glanced at the name. Richard Barnes. The address matched the registration, and there were no immediate red flags. But something gnawed at him, something instinctive. "You live around here?" Mercer asked casually, scanning the man's face for any sign of discomfort. "Just outside town," Richard replied easily. "A little house near the woods." "Nice and quiet?" Mercer nodded but did not move. He glanced back at the girl. Her gaze darted to him, then quickly back down to her rabbit. Fear. That is what it was. Not just unease, fear. He decided to push. "Where were you coming from?" "Just dinner with a friend." "What's your friend's name?" A beat too long before Richard responded. Mark. Mark Lander." Mercer noted the hesitation. He glanced again at Lily. Her small hands trembled as she gripped her stuffed animal. She had not looked at Richard once. And then, Mercer saw it. A single tear sliding down her cheek. The decision. His training told him he needed probable cause to press further, but his gut told him he did not have time for formalities. If he let this car drive away, if he let this moment slip, he might never see that little girl again. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle." Richard's smile faltered. "Is there a problem, officer?" Mercer kept his voice even. Just a routine check. Step out of the car, please. The hesitation was brief, but there. Richard's grip on the steering wheel tightened for a fraction of a second before he sighed and unbuckled his seat belt. He stepped out, raising his hand slightly, his smile now strained. Look, officer, I respect what you do, but this is just my daughter. We had a long day. Can we please just go home? Mercer ignored the plea. He turned to Lily. Sweetheart, can you step out, too, just for a second? She did not move. Mercer's heart pounded. Lily, he said again, softer this time. It's okay. Her tiny fingers loosened around the rabbit. She glanced at Richard, then at Mercer, and she nodded. She reached for the door handle with a trembling hand. That's when Richard moved. Everything happened in an instant. Richard lunged back toward the car, one hand grabbing for Lily, the other diving toward the center console. Mercer reacted on pure instinct, yanking him back and slamming him against the hood. Don't move. Mercer barked, his hand locking around Richard's wrist before he could reach whatever he was after. Lily scrambled out of the car, her tiny frame trembling as she clutched her rabbit. Mercer's heart pounded as he pinned Richard down, calling for backup. And then, just as he glanced inside the vehicle, he saw what Richard had been reaching for. A syringe. Half filled with something clear. His stomach twisted. This was not just an abduction. This was something far worse. Within minutes, sirens flooded the quiet night. Other officers arrived, securing Richard in cuffs while Mercer knelt beside Lily. You are safe now, he whispered. She looked up at him with tear-filled eyes, and for the first time, she let go of the rabbit. Days later, Mercer sat at his desk, staring at the report in front of him. Richard Barnes wasn't her father. He wasn't even remotely related to her. Lily had been taken from a park 3 days earlier, her parents living a nightmare they thought would never end. Because Mercer had followed his gut, she was going home. Sometimes, the difference between life and tragedy is a moment. A single decision. A gut feeling. And sometimes, saving a life does not mean breaking down doors or chasing criminals through alleyways. Sometimes, it means stopping a car, asking the right questions, and listening to the silence in a child's eyes. For Officer Mercer, that night was not just another shift. It was the night he listened. And because he did, Lily was saved.